Welcome to Know Thyself. Yes, it is indeed our duty to know ourselves much better in Christ Jesus. And that's the motto of this program. This is a continuation of the previous episode. We've been talking about the Pharisee and the publican. We've come halfway through it and we have another half to reach. We have with us Father Michael Karimattam, who teaches scriptures at the Mary Mata Seminary, and also Sister Glorista, who is a doctorate in counseling and also trains counselors. Welcome, Father. Welcome, Sister. So, Father, we have been discussing, and it was so interesting, especially the removing of the mask. And if you could give us more insights.
Okay, Anand, I think we have to once again read that passage.
Sure, yes, yeah.
To give us a background about what we are talking. So this is from the Gospel according to Luke chapter 18, verses 9 to 14. Mm-hmm. He told this parable to some who trusted in themselves that they were righteous and despised others. Mm-hmm. Two men went up into the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. The Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself, God, I thank thee that I am not like other men, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week, I give tithes of all that I get. But the tax collector, standing far off, would not even lift up his eyes to heaven, but beat his breast, saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other. Mm-hmm. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, but he who humbles himself will be exalted. That's a teaching. So we have already discussed in detail who the Pharisees are, who the tax collectors are, and what are the characteristics of this Pharisee. That's the first point we have.
Yes.
And the Pharisee is a person who carries a mask of righteous person. And it's interesting, which strikes me now. He prayed with himself. He's not praying to God. He's considering he's so full of himself, of his righteousness, his pious activities, his cultic perfection, everything. So God is a partner who should be thankful to this man being so faithful. Now, that is the first part. Now, the tax collector. First of all, the tax collector, he may be rich, but he has a very bad reputation in the society for two reasons. First of all, he is collaborating with the colonial power. He's a betrayer, a traitor of the country. Second, he is extorting. Very often, the tax collectors collected more than they were allowed to. So taxes were levied. See, for example, the tax collector, you take a region for yourself, you pay to the treasury such an amount, so it will be put on auction. So you have auctioned, you have taken a region for tax collecting, and you are supposed to pay such and such an amount to the treasury, and you are allowed to collect taxes. But there is no particular restriction how much tax you can collect. So you collect as you want. So that's when John the Baptist appeared and the tax collector went and, what shall we do? John didn't say you should not tax collect, but don't collect more than you are allowed to. Not more than you. Don't take any bribe. So here the tax collectors are extorting people, so they are hated. They are hated on two accounts. First of all, as a traitor, betrayer, collaborator with the colonial power. Second, they are extorting the people, putting heavy burden on them. So for these two. So the just righteous people considered them as a sinner on two counts. And the man is aware of it. So he knows that I am hated. He knows that he thinks also hated by God. So that is the attitude. A person who is aware of his nothingness and also of his sinfulness, full of his sinfulness, his awareness, and he thinks God also hates him. I have no right to look up to God. So he considers God as a severe judge who judges according to your merits. And when he looks into his life, there's nothing he can boast about. I have only sinned, nothing else. And so he prays for compassion, for mercy. Beating the breast is a sign of repentance. He is aware of what his sinfulness. He knows that he has done something wrong, that he should not have done. And he believes that God also is going to punish him. So I have no right, I don't dare to look up to God. I am afraid. But still hang on to the mercy. I have no right to ask for anything. I have only a prayer of petition, compassion, have mercy. That's all, Kyrie eleison, we have the Lord have mercy. In the Latin rite we have so beautiful, Lord have mercy. So all that you can count on is the compassion of God. If you stand before God's justice and the judge who judges you with righteousness, with justice, you are out. So that is the awareness. And this is what Jesus is telling. This man went home, went on to his house justified. Justified means reconciled with God. He received his forgiveness. He was reconciled with God, and he is happy with himself. God has accepted me, though sinful I am. But then he says the other, no, rather than the other. It means that the man who prayed with himself was not justified. He thought he was just and he blamed everybody. At the end, the person who was aware of his sinfulness has received forgiveness and he is justified. The other remains as he was. So this is something which Jesus again and again, we'll come to this a bit later, again and again, this is the point Jesus is making. And here I think the sister can contribute this, self-awareness. So look into oneself and what is the attitude? Is this a healthy attitude that of the tax collector, or is it leading you to depression? Can be also.
Okay, psychologically we can say that it's not an acceptable attitude because as a human being, he's a child of God and he has a merit of us being a human being. But he is even not aware of it because the society has rejected him, society is condemning him, he accepted that condemnation as his own. And that really is, it could lead to depression and inferiority complex, not being able to stand anywhere and to look up. Humility is good, but the humility is truth in that sense. So he was not even able to see his own merits in that sense. Okay, I am doing a work for a living. I have no other way of doing it. And to do it in like John Baptist said, don't exhort more than you have to. But if you have done more, okay, I do forgiveness, ask forgiveness and ask for God's mercy. And God is merciful. Until Jesus came and taught us the mercy of God, people were not aware of the mercy of God in that sense. It's the first time in that sense that they felt comfortable to go near a rabbi, and because Jesus was willing to accept them, love them, and care for them, and sit with them, because all the other people of God were staying away from them. And this is really a tendency that has come into the religious life also after Vatican II, saying that it's not in keeping separate. Become close to people. Rather than accepting their values, give them your values. Let them, like once a father said, we are here not to judge, but to serve. That is the attitude we have to take in that sense, in a real sense. So Jesus was, the acceptance Jesus gave to them, gave them the boosting of in their minds, gave them the feeling that, okay, we are loved, we are not hated, we are accepted. And that is the society can do a lot of damage to a person who has been in any way wronged. And that wronging has really created an inferiority complex in that person. And these people of God has really said that you are not good, you are not going to go to heaven, you are condemned. And in a way, they equaled these people's attitude to God's attitude. Rather than saying that God is merciful and will show mercy to me. And for that, we needed Jesus to come down and show them the mercy in that sense. Because any person Jesus touched, Jesus came in contact with us. Like the woman with the hemorrhage. Everybody hated her, kept her away because she is impure and things. She touched the fringe of Jesus' cloak and she was healed.
Right.
Then Jesus brought her out and said, "Daughter, your faith has saved you." He did not complain about being, I was made impure or anything like that. All these laws really did not make any sense to him. What he did was that we can see in Jesus' attitude, you are a human being, a child of God. I love you, I respect you.
I think there is more to it. See, why did Jesus come? Why did the Son of Man abandon, lay aside the glory and come down and take the form of a slave human? He said, I have come not to search for the righteous, but to seek the sinners and the lost. So the people, there are two sides. One who consider themselves as a chosen people, we are the holy ones, etc. And the others condemned, the people become the object of contempt, and they consider themselves as lost, the poor. And now Jesus comes and turns the whole thing upside down. And that comes in the Beatitude. Blessed are the poor. Blessed are you poor, because the kingdom of God is yours. Woe to you rich, because you have already satisfied your reward. So it goes on. Jesus is somehow turning the whole value system upside down. So Jesus knows, Jesus realizes there are people who are depressed, who are ostracized, marginalized, pushed to the margins, and they believe themselves to be sinners. We are lost. I am not worthy to stand in God's presence. They are not aware that they are God's children. Now Jesus comes and tells you who consider to be righteous, you are not. And you who consider to be lost, you are not. Open your eyes. God is your Father. I am here to announce you this good news. Even though the others hate you and consider you as sinners, you are saved. For you I have come. So that is the good news Jesus is bringing.
Right.
And that's why he was opposed. So we come to the opposition also now. So there is a total change from inside. You speak about humility, humility being in sense of reality. But the problem for a person who has been so contempt and despised by the others cannot come up of themselves. So there are all the laws which I have broken. There are all the people who condemn me as a sinner. That can be the church, that can be any society, any religious authority. Again and again I am reminded of my sinfulness, nothing of my dignity. So I get depressed and in despair. So to these people who have no hope, Jesus comes, come up, rise up. So this is the sinfulness is taken up, but at the same time I have come to take away the sins. Maybe you can something.
I think that, like we talked about before, asking what you do with the mask you are wearing.
Right.
Okay, and invariably we can see the Pharisee has the mask on him. He is so misunderstood about himself that he has identified himself with the mask. We can see people, those who are acting, they forget who they are. They think the actor, the person that is there.
The character
you are acting. And with the Pharisees, they were so busy presenting themselves as holy and they forgot what was the real self, and that holiness of the mask was, they identified with the mask. And the opposite direction, you will say, the publican, who was, everybody has accused them, so they thought, I have no mask. He has no mask to put on, and he could not even recognize his own worth.
Correct.
And so it went the other way, saying, I'm nothing. So asking, only thing I can rely is God's mercy. And that's what he prayed for. And so this is when we react in the real life, in the sense when people react to the other people's response. Okay, when the Pharisees wearing around with the tassels, everybody respect them and holy them, and they themselves holy. And the tax collector, because when he is coming around, everybody despise them and hate them, so they think themselves is hated. The reality stands in the middle.
Right.
Okay, no matter who praises me, who upholds me, I'm only this. Even if he push me down and try to step on me and push me down, but I have myself. That is psychologically the healthy self, in the sense saying. If I am, like you asked, where is the image and the concept?
Right.
When the mask is shed, when I can become, when I am not afraid to show who I am, we in a way lose a lot of energy covering up. But if I don't have to cover up who I am, and if I can accept myself who I am, then I'll say, okay, this is I am. Sometimes I get angry, sometimes I help, sometimes I pray, and this is what I am. If you can accept it, it is okay. If you cannot accept, that is okay too. And so in praise and in also pushing down, say no, and only a person who knows himself or herself can do that.
But in a society, and especially religious society, the people who stand on their own, they are considered as proud people. Don't you feel this? So he or she doesn't care others. She's so full of herself. So the self-standing, independent, standing on one's own feet can be misinterpreted or considered as pride. And I think there are also reactions to it. Subservient people, they are being taken in the society. So you keep on surrendering yourself to the other, then you also suppressing the other. But the person who is himself or herself becomes a threat to others who live on images.
And that is true. I mean, one thing I found out is those who bent to the upper people over there, they kick the others.
Yeah.
And if you are really a person is saying, no, we have no right to kick anybody. And this I have seen, many people who show so subservient an attitude to authority, somebody in position, those who doesn't have position will be treated like a trash.
Exactly.
And that is an attitude in itself. I don't think that is the attitude Jesus was trying to foster in that
Exactly.
sense.
Yeah. Even though he had the power,
Yeah.
he still treated each one with that dignity, that actual dignity.
See, this comes also in the political society, anywhere in the offices. So the kick comes always down. So you bend yourself before those who have power, and you kick the other, and it goes on and on.
And you can't kick God, you know.
Yeah. And finally, what Jesus does, he doesn't kick, he doesn't bend.
Exactly.
Stand. And that's what Jesus wants. Be
And
yourself.
this is the attitude I felt when I was, for a little while, I was in charge of the hospital there. I said, we have no right to kick or to bend onto anybody.
Perfect.
We don't need to. Because treat others as human beings. People are working there because they need to make a living. Respect them for what they are. And people, those who are there, they have the higher people there, the doctors and everybody else. They are also working. And we don't need to become subservient to them.
Right, right.
And at the same time, we can stand up and say, I don't think that was the healthy. Not everybody will accept it. That is true. There are some people who expect them, everybody to bend to them and to show some be subservient. And those who are, and there are people, those who are low. In a way, I think we look at the people there. Who hurts us really? Only the ones on the
I have a
top.
question now. What if these people are helpless? For example, they know that they are projecting a wrong image right now. They don't want to do it. But still, they're stuck there. They're not able to, break that and say like, okay, let me project my true self. How do we deal with such people?
What
do you mean the Pharisaic attitude or the one
Both the
who is
sides,
not?
both the sides. If you look at both sides. Yeah.
Well, and what is saying that I have to see whom I want to please. Usually, this wearing the mask or trying to put on this kind of, I want to do it, but the father is not going to like it, or bishop is not going to like it, so I won't do that. But what about these poor people?
Right.
Okay, do they like him if I show themselves before them be superior? Say hello to them, say good morning to them, say greetings to them. What are we going to lose from that? And it's a fear of pleasing the others, especially the ones in possession. That is why they are scared to break that.
Even if we take a domestic scenario, say at home, sometimes the mother has to put on a lot of masks, irrespective of all the suffering she still goes through, in order to please the children or the husband, or the other way, even the father is doing that. So how do they actually reconcile to their identity?
I think we are living a lie most of the time.
We're living a lie.
Living a lie.
Okay.
And just making an image. We come to the same back, know the truth.
Right.
So if you want to be free, realize who you are. It's not what you make of me, but God has made and what I am. So when I come into this, and then I don't look for any fringe benefits. Right. Don't try to take unjust claims or unjust rewards. Right. So do what you are supposed to do. And so then the whole position will change. That's what Jesus is doing, breaking down. And Mary said, the proud will be thrown down, brought down, the powerful will be brought down, the thrones will fall. And the rich will go empty-handed. So this is a revolution.
Beautiful.
But not an armed revolution, but an inner revolution. That revolution comes from inside, from your realization. For example, the bent woman. She was bent and somebody had put the chair on her back. So something like. And now Jesus comes stand up. When a bent woman on her back was the chair and she stands up, the chair will fall. So that is what this revolution comes.
Wow.
So you become aware of your worth.
And then you bring it out with that impact, which is very important.
And another thing I want to say about Anand asked is that what you want to pretend that you are loving the father, loving the children, pleasing, not them pleasing, be true at yourself. Actually, the mother is a person who is the light of the house and to be loved. Love the husband, love the children. When you are really loving them, do whatever is needed, but there is no need of pretending that I can do more than what I have. And I think when a person is really true to self, that will be more pleasing and more acceptable to others.
In the long run. But immediately you may have...
Yeah. So it's again a process. Step by step you bring yourself out and then...
So trying to learn to be yourself, learn who you are, and by that you grow, personal growth. So you are not staying where you are. You realize your strength, realize your weakness, accept it, but then you grow.
Growth.
And that growth is not accepting values from outside. It's what you are. Truth, justice, compassion, love.
And in the self-confidence, we have a self-ideal, what I want to be.
Right.
If I want to be a loving person, caring person, be that, not pretend. Okay? When I do to a person, when I show love and care, be sincere about that. Then I don't have to put on a mask about it.
No hidden agenda, that is what is happening.
Exactly. Yeah,
so
you
pretend something. That's what's happening in politics. Now what is everywhere that is happening also.
Right. That's become the culture.
Yeah.
So even if you speak something straight, people think there's a hidden agenda.
Exactly.
So, but on the long run, they will know that you are saying the truth.
Right, right.
because you stick to it.
So that brings their self-realization.
So that is what Jesus is telling by this publican, the tax collector. No? He prayed, he became aware, and he became aware that God has accepted him. So he went justified. What does it mean, justified? He became aware of his worth, he became aware of God's compassion, and he received this compassion, and he is at peace with himself.
Beautiful.
So he has changed. His attitude has changed, his mentality, and he has become happy. He can now look up to heaven. And the other man, he is full of himself. He doesn't change. So he went on, not change, and I think that's what happens very often with the prayer. You pray, you receive sacraments, nothing happens because you are so full of yourself.
Ultimately, what it means is change has to come from within, and then it will be the true change. Whether anybody accepts it or not, I hold on to that.
So this is not to accept acceptance from the others or you to please somebody. Try to be yourself. You are precious. That's what God is. I have made you my child. You are precious. And remember and become aware that I am appreciated, loved by God, willed by God, and be what I am.
So there is this wonderful song, a Christian song, which says, I long for freedom to live in the truth. The only way I can do that is to change myself on the inside by God's intervention. Let's cry out and ask God today, as we watch this program, that He will intervene in our inner self, like also how the psalmist says, Lord, you desire truth in the inward being. And that's the motive of this program. If you have any questions, please write to us on knowthyselfdtv@gmail.com. Till we meet you in another episode, God bless you. Thank you, Father.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sister.